I've been performing since September 2012.
I was on a trip recently, and one thing about flying, how many of you have flown before? Great. So, how many of you have talked to the person who sits next to you? Oh, just two of you? Like, what do the rest of you fucking do? You're just like, not here. That's harsh. Now, the one thing I've noted, you can't trust anything these people tell you. If an old lady is telling me about her 4 grandkids, she's a fucking liar. She's got 2 and one of them's gay, and she wants to pretend there are 2 others to make up for it. That was a stupid tag. Don't laugh at that. That was horrible.
Well, I had several friends who had talked about wanting to get into it, and the opportunity presented itself, and I guess, it was worth a shot.
So, one of my first flights, I was flying to San Francisco, a connecting flight. Didn't really need to say that. I just didn't want you to think I was staying in San Francisco. I don't know why. Maybe it's the dick mic. She started this off weird. I'm like...
You gotta put it up here.
I don't want to. I like to think if I wasn't cock involved, I wouldn't let it dangle above me. How fucking tall is this guy? Anyway. So what? I couldn't get back up then. I'd be like, I'm on my knees for the rest of the night. Whatever we're doing is knee involved. It's only down from here. It's going to take me 8 hours of sleep before I have enough energy to make it back up. Unless you've got a ladder or like a nice stool, I can work my way up.
So I would say that the reason I keep going is because I'm naturally kind of a shy guy, and that terror of wanting to run away from the comedy makes me want to do it just so I can overcome it. Because, hey, maybe I can find something there.
So I'm sitting next to this guy, and he's from DC, which it might be true. I don't give a fuck. And he's like, he's telling me this story about how he's the president of this new computer company, and they're trying to make this tiny computer, tiny netbook. And at first I'm listening to him because I didn't know any better. And I was thinking, wow, that's kind of neat. And then something set in. Now, I don't need to tell you this. You can probably figure it out. I'm poor. And so I'm not exactly flying first class. So I looked at him and I'm like, guy, you're the president of a company. Why the fuck are you flying in the back with me? He's like, well, I don't let anybody who works for me fly first class, and I won't do it either. I'm like, you're a liar. And that set the scene for everybody I've flown next to ever since. I had a guy who's like, if this plane's going down, if something happens to the pilot, I can fly this. I'm like, I don't trust you. I'll take the reins. He's like, I've been flying all my life. Doesn't do anything for me. Your word's invalid. We're on a plane. You're sitting next to me.
I think I mostly would like to see where it takes me. I really like the community, the sense of community that comes along with it. I've gotten some pretty good friends out of it so far, I think, and it's a lot of fun, and everybody's always trying to be, jovial and trying to make each other laugh. So you got that, and then in the future, just expounding upon that, I would like to maybe create a brand or something, so that instead of it just being kind of like a dog-eat-dog style, where, man, fuck you, I'm trying to get more gigs in the area, so I'll put you on blast if I have to, trying to escape that, trying to work in the community that we have of comedians and push forward. And then, if that takes me somewhere, that's cool. If it doesn't, I don't know where I'm going with it.
So, here recently I met this guy. He said his name was Yank. Now, he's an Irishman, and the only reason I would have known that was because his Ira looks and his pronunciation of R's kind of gave him away. But he'd been living in the States long enough that he'd lost his accent. And he was like, if you ever get in Ireland and you get lost, ask for a Yank. Go to the local football club and ask for Yank. And I'm like, that's just going to get my ass beat. I can feel that. Okay? So he's telling me all these stories, and finally he goes, so where are you going anyway? And I was like, well, I'm going to Edinburgh, I'm going to Birmingham, and I'm going to London. Now, I don't know if any of you have actually been to the UK or know anything about it, but the question I always got asked when I would tell people where I was going was, why the fuck are you going to Birmingham? He said, then you should definitely watch your back. I was like, now, me, I've always been the big kid. I've always been bigger than everybody else. I've always been the friendly giant. So I've never really been worried about that scenario. Never worried about somebody starting shit with me. And so I demonstrated, I told him, I was like, look, I'm about 6'2", I'm a tattooed individual. Most people are like, oh, here comes this guy. I don't want to fuck with him. He then said, well, it's not the big ones you have to worry about. It's the small ones with the screwdrivers. Now, I knew what he meant. I knew he was talking about that 5'2" guy who was upset that he wasn't as big as the next guy and he just had to prove himself. But my immediate thought was it was going to be this tiny guy, just a really tiny guy with a screwdriver, just like, yeah. My last thought in this world was going to be like, you smell a cabbage?
It's largely story-based. I try not to do as many punchlines, but not because I think they're bad, but because I'm horrible at them. And I mean, there might be elements of that punchline in there. Like I know what I'm building up to. I love that wave motion when you're doing comedy. So you maybe start off with something smaller, then it builds in, and then you're working to build up this giant tsunami. And then right when it crashes in and everybody feels like shit because they laugh so hard, then the waves come back, and then another one kind of comes back and slaps them in the face. It's like, water's still here. So I don't know if that really describes it, but that's what I'm aiming for. So
about a year ago, I decided that I was going to get a tattoo on my forearm. Now, I've been in college for 8 years, and so for a long time it was a big decision. It was like, do I do that and risk never being able to get a business job? And so ultimately said, fuck you, I'll spite my boss and I'll just do it. And I haven't really looked back since. I enjoy it, people love it. But now because of it, people ask me all the time, what do you... excuse me, I just burped. Just burped again. I just want to share that with you in case you couldn't hear it. They always ask me 2 questions. First one is, why? The second question is, what do you think your tattoos are going to be like when you get older? And my initial response all the time is, no worse than my tits or my knees. Now, my biggest fear, second mainly to, I don't know, growing old alone, is my nipples pointing down while I'm standing straight up. Oh, really? Okay. She's like, nah. I'm sorry, Allison, is that a problem?
That's me.
Okay, my bad. You were the one moving, okay. Is that... I didn't talk about your tits while I'm up here. Well, I do, but only if it's like a back... It doesn't matter. So, recently, I was dating an Asian girl, and she had the normal features that you would expect. Very slender figure. Her proportions were all pretty small. But there was an issue that came up, and it was because I would find myself staring at her, longing, and the only thought that would be going through my head would be, man, I wish I had those tits. God, then my back would hurt less. Anyway, that's my time. Thank you, guys.